What if you could help others to find the power to heal themselves, physically, emotionally, and spiritually?
When I started teaching my classes, it was in 2002, and I was just doing the past life regressions and contacting the subconscious part. But then as the time went on and we found how powerful this was and what we could do with it, a lot of the students began saying, advanced past life regression doesn't really tell what it's all about. This is so much more than that. We think you should change the name. So it was a few years ago we decided to change the name to Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique. And this is the healing technique that we've now been teaching it, since 2002, that's 12 years.
What if you could time travel with them, visit mythical places or angelic realms, other worlds, other galaxies? Help others to speak to their higher selves. You can. Dolores has taught thousands of people from across the world how to use QHHT, and now you can learn her method by going directly to dolorescannon.com. And don't forget to mention the discount code MORETALKS. Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Kevin Moore Show. Now, if you want to stay up to date with all my latest videos, just click that subscribe button below, as this really helps to support the show. If you're new to the show, I interview guests from a spiritual perspective, covering mainstream and alternative subjects, real-life inspirational stories, true crime, self-improvement, and much more. On today's show, I'm about to be joined by my guest, Miriam Subirana. Now, Miriam lives in Spain and has a doctorate in fine arts and teaches at a local university part-time and full-time at the Academy of Idea in Spain. Mary is a coach, author, and teacher of meditation and positive thinking, and she joins me today to discuss her latest work, The Joy of Caring, Transforming Difficulties into Possibilities. Miriam Subirana, thank you for joining me.
I'm really happy to be joining you and to have the opportunity to share with you and with everyone that is going to accompany us during this time that we're going to dialogue.
Absolutely. And you're based in Spain, and it's quite late your
Yes.
time. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate you staying up late to do this with the time difference. So you've published a great book called The Joy of Caring, Transforming Difficulties into Possibilities. Now, what led you to write this book?
Well, I have been accompanying people for a long time, more than 35 years, as a coach and as a mentor and as a thinking partner. And accompanying people, what I see is that people care for themselves when there's no other option. It's like it's already too late sometimes. They do it out of obligation, not out of joy. And caring becomes like something in the to-do list. I have to care for myself instead of I want to, I enjoy doing it. And also, there is a deeper aspect about caring, which led me to write this book. It's seeing how people are very harsh on themselves, very critical, sometimes even negative. And so situations are already difficult around us. Life is not always easy. Relationships are not always easy. And on top of that, if you tell yourself constantly negative thoughts, you blame yourself, you feel guilty. So all of that, it's like a burden inside. And so the joy of caring, it has many dimensions that I hope we can discuss now during this interview. But the reason I wrote the book is sharing many experiences of accompanying people and how to shift this being harsh on ourselves, this being negative on ourselves, and be more joyful.
Yeah, so I'm guessing that you must have gone through some sort of breakthrough to get to this point, though,
Yeah,
personally.
yes, actually, yes, quite some breakthroughs. And I put the experience, I put many experiences, I share many experiences in the book, but I share the metaphor of a snake going through two rocks or two stones so that touching the stones in a hard way, it removes or it helps remove the old skin to leave space for the new skin to be born. Now, going through that, the two stones or two rocks is not easy. It's like a breakthrough. You have to be able to let go of the old skin and have faith and trust that the new skin is going to be born.
I think this is a very timely interview, especially with what the world's going through right now. We've
Yes.
had to care for ourselves more, or we are being forced to care for ourselves more. So we are quite programmed to sometimes to please others, be it a relationship, whatever that type of relationship is. Um, are we trying to prove something to ourselves in that pleasing of others?
Yes, sometimes we don't have enough self-esteem. Our self-image comes through the image of others. So what you think of me influences how I think about myself. And so then, of course, I'm trying to please others so that others like me. And then these may help me to like myself. So all of this is like a trap, a big trap. And trying to be someone that you are not because you want to please someone is what the philosopher Soren Kierkegaard says is the most desperate thing that the person is doing, because actually it takes you away from your real self, from who you really are.
Yeah, it's almost like, I made it. Look at me. I did it in the end. You never believed in me, but I did it.
Yes. And actually, coaching some managers, I see how they want their parents, even if the parents have passed away, that they see, look, I did it. And so the other day, a person who is in her 60s and published her first book, she told me, oh, I wish my mother would be alive because she would be proud of me that finally I did it. So it's exactly what you're saying, how we struggle to achieve something, to be someone for someone else.
Do you think that's different to versus, I wish they could share this moment with me?
Yes, it's different because I wish they could share this moment with me. It's I want to share the joy and to thank you for all what you have meant for me and to enjoy it together. And that is different than wanting to be up to your expectations.
Do you think doing something to be of service to others is a trap, or it depends where you're coming from?
It depends where you're coming from, because I think to serve others is part of our nature. When it comes from the generous being, when it comes from the abundance of the self connected with the abundance of life and of nature. And so when I give myself from that abundance to others, then it's really the joy of giving. Whereas sometimes we need to give to others and show that we have given to be someone, to feel some sort of identity. It is true that I have seen a movement in the past decade of many people coming out of companies because they were fed up of having a work that was meaningless for them, and they got training in coaching and started becoming a coach of the people in the business and companies. And that sense of giving, like now I am doing something that is worth it, that is meaningful. And so I think that giving has many different sides, because when we give from ourselves, like love is giving, love is sharing, then we find meaning and we co-create meaning with those that are receiving, and that in return, maybe they also give back in a synchronous reciprocity. And in this giving and taking, we co-create meaning. But sometimes the space of giving comes from, look how good I am, look how well I do it. So it's like an ego trip. And I think that's a trap.
So when we're living in purpose, we're doing something that we really enjoy, whatever that something is.
Yes.
Then that is automatically giving, isn't it, in a sense? Because, you're giving something that you got a lot of joy from doing in the first place.
Yes. It's a space of sharing from joy. And my grandfather was a doctor, and he loved curing people. And he said, I would pay to do this work. So it's a great space of being. It's like, okay, I'm helping patients to cure themselves. And I enjoy it so much because it's like a mission, it's like a purpose. And on top of that, I'm getting paid. Wow, what a joy.
Right. And we've all got to make a living, and some of us have got to do what we've got to do sometimes. But even in
Yes.
those times, can we find the space that we're talking about even in those times?
Yes, because whatever you're doing, if you are present in what you're doing, if you are fully there, present, then you are giving from the very best.
How do you know if you were fully present in that job?
I think there are different signs. One is that you are aligned with your mind, with what you are saying, and with your body. So if I am, let's say, putting potatoes in a box, or, putting boxes in a truck, and my mind is someplace else, then I am not there with the boxes or with the potatoes. And these kinds of jobs actually are very good because they don't require your mind to be focused. And so it's like a meditation in motion. You can be fully present with the potatoes or with the boxes or with whatever you're doing, because your mind doesn't have to count, unless you have to count the potatoes, 20 potatoes in each box. And then you are fully present in the counting. When your mind drifts away, then you have to start again, counting from number one. And so how do you know that you're fully present? Because your mind is focused, because you are with your breathing, you are with your body, you are where you are, there, present. And you are aware of what you're doing with your hands, with your feet, with your body.
If you're not living in purpose, you're going to keep repeating the same jobs, maybe, right? Different situations, different scenarios, but you'll get there in the end, do you think, with some people? Or does it take them to retirement to maybe live in that space?
Well, I think people will get depressed or will get annoyed or will have a lot of stress or anxiety if they don't find their purpose in what they're doing. And so what I recommend is to have the bigger picture in mind. I don't know if you know the story of building a cathedral. So if I share it in short, there's a bunch of workers that are putting stones, one stone on top of the other stone. And someone passing by asks one of the workers, "What are you doing?" And he says, "Well, I'm putting stones to earn my living." And then he asks another worker and he says, "Well, I'm putting stones to feed my family." So he's already thinking beyond himself, he's thinking about the family. And then he asks a third worker, "Well, what are you doing?" And he said, "I'm constructing a cathedral." And so this bigger picture gives you a sense of purpose. So the example I put about the potatoes is like these potatoes are going to feed some people. I'm helping the potatoes to reach other people so that the food reaches other people. So if you see the bigger picture, that helps you find your purpose. Now, what happens is that maybe when you see the bigger picture, you find that you are in the wrong type of work because you don't want to contribute to what you're contributing. When you see the bigger picture, maybe you say, "Wow, I don't want to contribute to this kind of activity in the world because it's not healthy for the world, because it's spoiling the atmosphere, the earth, the climate change, etc." And so then this is very good because you have a question mark and you have to trust your inner voice and say, "Well, do you see yourself in this work for the next 20, 30 years or the next year? Or just follow your purpose and do something that is useful for humanity?"
Yeah, and let's just remind people that we're talking about purpose because being in purpose is caring for yourself and caring for others.
Yes, yes. I think this is one of the key aspects of caring for each other, caring for yourself, caring for the planet, caring for the neighbors, and caring for your body, for your heart, for your soul, for your mind.
Yes, and that being of purpose, again, just to reiterate this point, it could be something that you do that's a hobby. That's a
Yes,
start.
yes, yes. You can sing because you have a message to give and you want to do it in a playful way or in a music way, or you're a painter or a writer, or you want to spread a message, you have something to say, you want to contribute to the world, or by doing something, or by caring as a volunteer, helping people in need. And so it can start as a hobby, and slowly you may find ways for it to become work in which your full work, it's like your hobby. So you really enjoy work. And I mean, in the book, there's a part in which I share about time and the joy of living in time. And there is a saying of Tagore in which he says, well, how sad that we as human beings don't enjoy work, and this is why we have invented the weekends. And so he says, Rabindranath Tagore, "We separate joy from work. Our working day is not a day of happiness. We need a festive holiday because how miserable we are. We don't know how to find festivity or joyfulness at work." And this is really connected with what we are talking with purpose.
Being in purpose and caring for others, I guess you could also have the situation as well where you are a caretaker for someone, maybe. And however you ended up in that situation, hopefully through love, not obligation, sometimes we have to be a carer for others, don't we?
Yes.
Yeah.
And caring for others when it's out of joy and love, it's really so beautiful. I think it's one of the greatest gifts that we have in relationships, to be able to care for each other, to care for one another. But when it becomes a burden, when it becomes an interruption, when it becomes an obligation, then how sad, because it's like all our energy drifts away and we feel exhausted. And so one of the things I share in the book of The Joy of Caring is how to give of yourself without draining your energy, without, the burnout syndrome in which you are exhausted, you can't cope anymore. And so caring for others by caring for yourself.
Yes, but I guess what my point was there, thank you for sharing that, is that you may be a full-time carer for someone.
Yes.
And that may get to a point where you've been doing it for so long that, when you ask that question, am I doing this out of obligation now at this point? Sometimes you don't have that opportunity to even question that, because you're the only one that can do what you're doing with them. Who else would they have?
Yes. And one thing that can help in coping with that feeling is to appreciate what the opportunity is giving you, instead of, because when you are a long time with someone, you tend to see the defects, you tend to see the problems, you tend to see what is not working. And so one of the things that I teach, appreciative inquiry, is appreciate what is and focus in what is life-giving.
When it comes to karma, in the sense that
Karma.
Yeah. So when it comes to karma, from the perspective of whether you believe it or not, right? A lot of people do. They feel that, I must have a deeper reason for this person being in my life, and maybe there's something karmically tying us together. What would be your response if people say that?
I would ask them if they can see other horizons, that it doesn't become an excuse. It doesn't become an easy way out. Okay, I don't have anything else to do. This is all I have to do. This person needs me. And it's like it becomes the relationship of the other is a victim, or I am a victim, or I am a savior of that person, because no one else will care for that person. And I'm sure there are more than 7,000 million people in the world. And so when we get into this savior-victim situation, I think, of course, this is all part of karma, but you are the creator of your own karma. And so you can start shifting your way of looking at it, shifting your consciousness about it, having a more appreciative look, seeing in a different way that will help you see other options.
Just putting this to relationships as well. I mean, and I'm guilty of this as well, of being in some relationships where, I've become a caretaker for someone. And I don't know, looking back, just, why I did some of those things, but I guess it's all an experience, right? That a lot of us do get involved in sort of caretaker situations.
Yes, and we get involved in caretaking because we love the person, because there's some relationship with that person, because we feel a call within that, okay, this is what I should do now. So I think in general, it's always out of good intentions. And the thing in real caretaking is not to make the other emotionally dependent on me. Okay, I may have to care for the person physically, But when I make the other emotionally depend on me, or me depend emotionally on caring for the other, then we get into an entangled karma in which we feel what you were saying, that, oh, I have to do it because there's no one else. And actually, it's attachment. And when there is attachment, our view and our horizons shorten and shrink, and we don't see deeper, and we don't see wider, because attachment makes the relationship suffocate sometimes. It's like I can embrace someone and suffocate them in my embrace, or I can embrace someone and lift them up with the love of my embrace.
When you're not looking after yourself or not caring for yourself, that can manifest itself in so many ways, can't it? I mean, health-wise especially.
Yes.
Addictions.
Yes. Addictions, exactly. And for example, I was teaching meditation and coaching the director of a big region in Spain, director of the drugs program, to help people overcome their drug addiction. And he told me most of the problem is because of the attachment of the mother to the youngest son or youngest daughter. So when all the other sons and daughters have left the house, there's only one left, is the youngest one. And the mother is so afraid of the void that the house is going to have when the last child leaves the house, that it creates such a bond of attachment that the young person doesn't know how to escape from that, and drug is an escape. So yes, addictions come many times because we don't know how to deal with certain attachments.
Yeah, and I guess, there's always the sort of obligations that we feel we have towards other people, that we feel that we can't speak our truth sometimes. Like, it may be they're asking us to do something and we just don't want to do it that day, or we just would, this, whatever the situation is, right? But we feel so obliged sometimes to keep people happy. Sure, I'll do that for you, no problem. And we just can't say no. How do people break free of that pattern as well? And what do you think their life would look like if they could just be more caring to say no? But we've been taught that it's wrong to say, not taught that it's wrong to say no, but we've been taught to do what we think is the right thing.
I think this is a very important question. Actually, I wrote a book with the title Live in Freedom, in which one of the chapters is say yes to say no. And so when you say no, focus in what you're saying yes instead, and then it will be much easier. So I want to say no, for example, to a proposal that some person makes me, and then actually I'm saying yes to another proposal, or I'm saying yes to have free time, or I'm saying yes to go to the gym instead of doing extra hours of work, for example. So when you think, okay, it's very difficult to say no, but when you say no, actually you're saying yes to someone else, so to something else. So focus in this something else that you're saying yes, and then it will be much easier to say no, because you're actually saying yes.
Absolutely. And it's trusting or shifting into that space, isn't it? How do you sort of shift to listen to that more critical voice? And is that voice the heart we're listening to, or that deeper part of us that knows what's best for us?
Yes, this is so important, to listen to the deeper voice. I would say to the real self, the intuitive self, and to be aware of listening fully to your inner voice, to the core of your being. So yes, how do we listen to that deeper voice within? And there are different methods that help and that I share in the book, The Joy of Caring. For example, meditation. So you calm your thoughts so that there is space within. You create silence within so that the deeper voice emerges and manifests. Or you do the morning pages and you write every morning a few pages, what's in your heart, what's in your mind. And it's like you do a download of all your thoughts so that there is clarity within. And then in that clarity, the deeper voice will emerge, because we have many different kinds of voices that speak to us: the artistic voice, the judging voice, the responsible voice, the critical voice. And so to listen to our deeper self, that comes from the voice that comes from the core of our being, that is very important for caring for the self. That is caring for the self.
Yes, and it's just getting over those hurdles, isn't it, of listening to that voice and probably knowing that you're going to upset someone else, but you're doing it for the right reasons as well, because there's many other people on the sort of reverse to this scenario where they just don't care about others, and they literally they don't want to help, and it's all about them and no one else.
Yes, and these people will have a harsh time in relationships. They will live in their own reality and not in the, in the reality created by their own mind, and not in the reality. Of course, there are different levels of reality. So where do you live? In the reality created by your own mind, or in the reality that we are co-creating? And so the people that don't care for others, sometimes they have been hurt. They have been maybe abused. And so they put like a layer of a defense system to protect themselves from being hurt again. And this requires healing. So caring for the self is also healing the self.
How does one start to heal the self from that perspective?
Well, first, you realize, you become aware that there is something within that is hurt and that you need to heal it. And there are different pathways for healing. One, of course, is the therapist or the psychologist. The other is artistic therapy, like art therapy, music therapy, dance therapy. So through the arts and through the body to heal yourself. And the other is through meditation, in which you invoke the transcendence presence, the divine presence, and somehow you are able to forgive yourself, to forgive others, to let the past be past, and to focus in what's in front of you, in creating the future that you want to live in.
Not living in the past.
Exactly.
Or living in a future that's not happened and being scared of that potential future.
Yes, and so living in the present, and in the present, step by step, creating the future where you want to live in. So it's like step by step, I create where or how I want to live my life. So if I want a healthy life, I will eat healthy food, I will have healthy thoughts, and I will have enriching conversations. And as I share in the book of The Joy of Caring, to philosophize means to have enriching conversations so that we can co-create meaning. That is very healing.
Yes, because that meaning can lead you to a purpose, maybe. And you know what? You may try many different purposes. You may try many different things. And that's okay as well. And also, not just the trying of the things, which you then discover is not what you wanted. You may also have multiple purposes.
Yes, and in the multiple purposes, it means that you are enjoying the multiple dimensions of life, the dimensions of relationships, the dimension of being in nature.
That's an important one. Nature is, which I don't think I also realize sometimes just how healing just to get out of the home or office that can be, just to have that break sometimes, just to go for a walk.
Go for a walk and see the trees and look at the sky and enjoy the plants or the flowers or the snow or whatever the weather is, but just see beyond the room where you are at. So they see the horizon, look at the sky.
Absolutely, because no matter what we're going through, it never lasts forever. Everything changes in the end, whether you make the change or the change happens for you. And
Yes,
it's also temporary, but we take it all so seriously, don't we? But when you look at even the night sky and you see the infinite universe and see how small we are in comparison to what's out there, you know, we are trapped in thought patterns, aren't we? Of what again, what people think of us, what people maybe attack us in ways or whatever that may be. Maybe that some people aren't very nice, right? We can't get on with everyone. But to be caring for yourself in any situation is to realize that the only person that's going to love me really is myself.
yes. And myself connected to the bigger I, which is we, and to the bigger I, which is divine I would say. And then you realize that you are not alone. You are surrounded by the stars of the universe, surrounded by other human beings, other stars, and surrounded by nature. And when you see the whole, then you are more kind to yourself and to others.
Just going back to what I was some points I was mentioning there, that when we are attacked or when we're in a situation of conflict, that by caring for yourself more, maybe you wouldn't take it as personal, or you would handle the situation different. I'm sure that you've been screamed at before, and had things that weren't very nice said to you, and I'm guessing you can tell me that you handle those situations very different now that you're in the space you're in.
Yes, definitely. Because first of all, whenever someone speaks ill at you or blames you or shouts at you, it's more about themselves than about you. And so they are expressing the anger they have within. Maybe you didn't fulfill their expectations. Maybe they were expecting something else or whatever, or they are frustrated. And so their anger or whatever they spill at you, it says more about themselves than about yourself. And so a healthy distance is recommended. And I'm not talking about a distance of kilometers. I'm talking about the insight to not identify yourself with the words that the other one is saying, because those words are their own projection. They are not you. They are not about you. They are about the other. And this is crucial to understand, because then you will respond in a peaceful way when someone is insulting you, instead of reacting and insulting back.
Yeah, very easy to hear the words, the beautiful words that you're saying, and it's difficult in the moment to remember that is a better way. But in the end, sometimes when experiences have been so painful, which is one way for us to learn, it doesn't have to be that painful, but it can be sometimes, that maybe we do get eventually to come more from that space that you describe. And also, just to add on to that in those situations, you may have someone who feels that they want to save you. They may say, I want the best for you and you should do it this way. And I think you shouldn't be doing what you're doing. And that, if you follow what they want, is that really caring for yourself? Maybe not all the time.
I think first you need to listen to that voice and let it sit for a while. Don't react on it. Just let it sit and reflect on it internally so that you can see from which perspective that voice is coming. Because finally, in every situation, there are different perspectives, and what is right or wrong is very subjective. And is that voice a voice that resonates with you? Is it maybe a voice that is telling you, come out of your comfort zone, be courageous, fly? Or is it a voice that actually is telling you, don't fly, don't come out of your comfort zone, oh, you have such a good job, you have such a good house, why are you wanting to travel, for example? And so see where that voice is coming from and where is it touching you, and just be wise.
Yes, because you've got to employ the heart with the brain. We've got a brain for a reason. We need the logical side, but we also need the heart, and it's coming into that middle space. But very much what you're saying there, just be aware that the person, is there any, anything wise in what they're saying to you? Are you so stubborn that you've not considered the opposite, right?
Yeah.
Or is it controlling and abusive?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Just reflect on it, because you may not see the other side of the coin, and the other person is offering you the other side of the coin, and it may be a very wise advice, or it may be controlling. So finally, you need internal calmness, so that you can be in a space of clarity to take the decision. What is best for you is best for others also.
And if you put yourself first sometimes, do you think you put the other first?
Well, what I was saying, if you put yourself and you care for yourself, actually you're caring for others. Because if you are not caring for yourself, finally, others will have to care for yourself. You won't be able to care for others.
And you may not be just making your life miserable, but their life as well.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And a lot of us, I feel, only care about ourselves. We don't seem to care about others. It's all about our will. When do some of us consider just, I wonder how that person's doing over there? Or, we seem to be in that state, don't we, sometimes, where there's no consideration for others. And I bring that up because if we did start considering others, that's more of that oneness, isn't it? That, maybe that's more of even caring for the world in a sense, by coming from that space.
Yes, because we are at a very critical point in which if we don't care for each other and we don't care for the planet, we may have a very difficult future for our children or grandchildren. And so only thinking about ourselves is not really caring for the self, because I believe that we are relational beings. So caring for myself is caring for the relational being, is caring for you and for others also. And so if I only think about myself in a selfish way, that I don't care what's going on with others, and I don't even ask them if they need help or how they are, or then finally, my loneliness will be a loneliness in which I will be constantly escaping from myself. And so I will be living in a fantasy which is not myself. I will not know myself. I will deprive myself of knowing who I am really, and of the joy of relationships. And so why have we come to this state of so much selfishness and individualism, in which our loneliness is not a rich solitude, a solitude in which you nourish yourself by reading a book, by reflecting, by meditating, by having a walk in nature. But it's a loneliness in which you are depriving yourself of the joy of relationships, the joy of relating.
But there are people out there that maybe just either live with their partner or maybe live by themselves, and they don't want or don't care for relationships, not intimate ones, but even just friendships with others. They're just not that bothered about. Well, they say that, whether that's what's really going on, but they may say that.
Yes, well, they live a narcissistic life, and they only look at their own belly, and it's a life that it's based on ego, not on the soul and the core of the being. So the person lives in the surface of their own being, and they are full of, how would I say, of masks.
Or they've been hurt before in previous points in their lifetime, like some sort of childhood scar that's kept them in that space. Maybe they're not narcissists. Maybe they've just, unaware that they're carrying wounds.
Yes, that's what we were saying a little while ago, that when you have been hurt and you are carrying wounds, you create a defense system in which everyone is someone to fear. And so you don't allow others to come close to you, and you don't allow yourself to come close to others.
And I guess it still comes back to self-care. I guess it does.
Yes, and these people sometimes are afraid of the vulnerability of their being, and so they cover it with a harsh mask to pretend they are strong and that they don't need anyone. But in the core of their being, there is a vulnerability. And we have been taught to believe that when we show our vulnerability, actually we are showing our weakness. And actually, I think that to show your vulnerability allows others to come close to you, allows you to come close to others. And this it requires courage. So it means you are very strong if you are able to open up like that.
And also, we can't compare ourselves to others, or or she has that life, or look what they've got, or whatever the comparing may be, right? That's not really caring for yourself or anyone else from coming from that space. Jealousy, in a sense.
Yes, and so choose your comparison wisely, in a wise way, because I can compare myself with someone who I feel they reach an elderly age. They are dynamic, they are healthy, they are fit, they are in their 80s. And I can compare myself and I say, oh, I want to reach my 80s and be like them. And so I compare in a way that it inspires me to inquire, what have they done to keep themselves healthy, joyful, and fit? And so this is a healthy comparison. So choose your comparisons wisely to be inspired.
How important is it for caring for yourself and being in a relationship, do you think?
I think we constantly compare ourselves with others. And so that's why we need to choose wisely. How do we compare ourselves with others? Because if I compare myself as I am not enough, he's better than me, she's better than me, she's number one, I am number two, or I'm less than one. These comparisons are painful, are hurtful, and don't allow me to flourish. So compare myself in a positive way so that I flourish and I am not jealous of others, because sometimes the comparisons are the opposite. It's like I say, oh, I am much better off than others. And so I don't strive to fully flourish, to live my whole potential, because anyway, I'm better than others, I'm better off than others. And so I remain in my comfort zone out of that comparison. So I think that's a big topic. How do we compare ourselves with others? And choose your comparisons wisely so that you are inspired to flourish and you inspire others.
Absolutely. And a lot of the subjects we're talking about here, that, like you say, that you can go so much deeper, and you do go so much deeper in your book as well.
Yeah.
And your website for your work is?
Yes. My website is miriamsubirana.com. It's in English and in Spanish. And I've published 14 books. 7 of them are in English. And the last one is the one we are talking about, The Joy of Caring. The last one in English, Transforming Difficulties into Possibilities. I also do coaching and contemplative meditation and positive inquiry coaching. And I'm very happy to be able to share with all of you all the experiences that life has given me by accompanying others, by being with others.
I can tell that you've definitely lived a really full life to get to this point where you are. And can you offer that by video calls as well? Can people do Skype or Zoom?
Yes. Actually, I used, a few years ago, I started doing through video interaction, but now actually these past 12 months, I've never by video, the classes at the university, the classes of training, the coaching, even the meditation. And it is very joyful because then it allows us to be able to be here now. You are in, thousands of miles away, and actually we are so close in this conversation. Like I feel the conversation really flows with you. So I'm very thankful for this closeness, although we are physically away.
Yeah, it's discreet. I was actually thinking, funny you say that. I was thinking of that earlier on. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be in Spain today. Just that, and I'm like, isn't technology just crazy that you can just pop in and out of people's realities where you could never do that before? And yeah.
And the other, there are 2 other things. Is one that we come into the living rooms of each other. So you are now in my desk and in my studio where I paint. I don't have paintings behind me because I opened an exhibition this past week, and so my paintings are at an exhibition. But also, thank you. Also, I not only see you, I see myself. And that is very interesting because normally when we are in a meeting, or let's say I would be in your radio studio, I would be seeing you, but I wouldn't be seeing myself. But now in the screen, I see myself and I see you. And I think this is an addition to, that we see each other and we see ourselves.
Yeah, and sometimes we don't always want to self-reflect and see ourselves, see our behavior, do we sometimes?
Yes, exactly.
And that can also, when you do start caring for yourself more, how do you look to another in some respects of, are you happy? Are you happy? Are you content with your life? Are you someone I would come to say that you care enough? I think you would be someone that does care about me, who could help me. You know what I mean? When we need that help sometimes.
Yes. And actually, we can, let's say at some moment you are not happy, but remember a time in which you were happy and emerge that feeling of happiness. What made you happy? How was happiness in your body, flowing in your body? And by remembering that, you emerge it. And in the book, there's a chapter in which I talk about the joy of remembering, because sometimes we forget what we should remember and we remember what we should forget. And so Remember what gives life to you and focus in what gives life to you, and then your life will be full of purpose.
Isn't it so self-sabotaging sometimes, unbeknown to us, when we keep replaying old memories in our head of, and thinking, oh, if only it was different, I wished it hadn't worked out that way, whatever it is. And it all comes down to a chapter that's in your book actually called Accepting. And we just, we don't want to, I'll use the word as well, I'll add on appreciate or accept where we are sometimes, but we have to, we don't have to, but it is easier, life is, isn't it, to accept?
Yes, acceptance is a big word, in the sense that it has a lot of meaning for me. Accept who you are, accept your past, accept what's happening. And from acceptance, you can transform it. But if you resist to what is, it's going to be very difficult to transform it. And so acceptance is the step to be in touch with all your potential.
Yes.
But resistance, when you resist to what is, then all your energy is focusing in resisting, in defending yourself from what is. But when you accept, you release all your potential to transform what needs to be transformed.
And no matter what someone's done to you, I blame that person, for what they did to me. I don't know if I can forgive them. Really, forgiveness is a key part as well. To forgive yourself and to forgive another, it is part of caring for yourself.
Yes, actually, forgive includes the word giving. Even in Spanish, perdonar is to give. And so when you forgive, you are giving freedom to yourself and freedom to others.
Yeah, I mean, you may say, I'm not ready, I want to hold on to it, I don't want to forget it. But there is a difference between, I guess, forgiving and forgetting. Yes, it doesn't mean you're going to do the same thing. And also, compassion. Compassion for yourself is important for caring. But also, when someone has done something that you may not appreciate, or it wasn't a joyful situation, you don't know what they're going through. They may be going through mental health illness, or they may be in some very dark place, or there may be something that's happened to them that you don't know nothing about. And you have to have some compassion, don't you?
Yes. Compassion is, according to the Buddhists, the highest form of love. And compassion includes embracing the other for what it is, for what is happening, and not judging, because, as you said, you don't know really what they're going through.
There may be someone that's watching this right now that's feeling very low, that doesn't want to be here anymore, that is giving up with life, and they feel that the most caring thing they can do for themselves is to, just if only they could just not be here. That would be their version of reality of not caring. But I think when you do care for yourself and you do love yourself, that you can get back into the space that you're talking about, which is really getting into purpose. All this leads back to purpose. I know that's a long-winded question there, or a statement.
Yes, I mean, if someone feels down, first of all, breathe in and breathe out, and realize that you are breathing, that you are alive, and that you are the creator of your thoughts. And so if your thoughts are taking you or are keeping you in a dark place, reach out to someone so that you can hear other voices, so that you can hear another conversation about something that could open up new horizons. And I think helping others helps when you are feeling down. So connect to service, to serve others, and start helping them. And then that will help you come out of whatever dark hole you are in. So, yes, the book, the last part of the book is compassion and contemplation. And the idea is that to connect to this space of silence within, in which the light emerges and all what is life-giving within you emerges and flows towards others. And so I'm really thankful for this conversation.
But what if someone's going through a lot of pain? What if they're in a pain body? And, that's very difficult, isn't it? To care for yourself when you are in a painful situation, physically as well, which I'm talking about.
Yes, if you feel a lot of pain, I mean, there are, I don't know, in the US, I suppose, there are these, in Spain, there are the clinics of pain, la clínica, like a hospital specialized for reducing pain. And, and just try not to increase the pain with your own mind. There's enough pain in your body, and try to focus in something else. Just something else, so that your mind is not trapped by the pain.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. And just very briefly, what would you say then is the most important message of your work, or even this book?
Well, that's quite a big question. I would say the most important is to connect to your real self, to be your real self, which is the positive core or the healthy core, to go through all the layers and reach that positive core, which is a relational being, and enjoy loving, enjoy sharing, and shine with your beautiful self. Every single being has a beautiful self within.
Well, Miriam, absolutely. Well, Miriam, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on, and I really appreciated the conversation.
Thank you so much.